Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield. I'm the Get Fit Guy, and in today's episode, you're going to learn 4 ways to be as fit as your primal ancestors. Now, last I checked, tapping away on the built-in Wi-Fi of the gym's elliptical trainer, checking your smartphone email while hunched over on a weight bench, and barely breaking a sweat with a stretchy band so that you can earn yourself a giant Jamba Juice was not exactly ancestral. One could argue, in fact, that this style of fitness and fat loss is just one tiny step away from the scene in the cartoon WALL-E that features morbidly obese space-age civilians tooling along the space deck in their giant soda-equipped Land Rovers. Well, perhaps you're chuckling contentedly. After all, you're not one of those people. Instead, you go to a CrossFit box and punish your body under a barbell, or you strap on a pair of minimalist sandals and go running through the forest, or you twist yourself into pretzel shapes while lost in a deep breathing trance. And while I'll admit that these modes of exercise are a much closer step to following a paleo or a primal or an ancestral fitness model, they can still be lacking in some respects. For example, at the risk of sounding haughty, but please hear me out anyways, I've hung out with many a CrossFitter who whimpers at the prospect of an icy cold shower and can't last an hour in a sauna or swim in a glacier river. Many a trail runner who can't pick up a heavy rock or break into an all-out sprint without pulling a hammy. And many a yogi who would definitely be the first to go in a zombie apocalypse style scenario. Granted, with a pacified smile on their face. So, what's one to do? Well, here's my recommendation. Here are 4 rules for ancestral fitness and fat loss while living in a modern world. Make sure you're following some semblance of these rules each week, and if you're a real go-getter, even each day. Number 1 is to shiver and sweat. It is perhaps once each week that my hand turns the hot water handle on my shower, and that's usually after a 20 to 30 minute swim in the icy river or the cold tub in my backyard. Aside from that, I take a 2 to 5 minute cold shower each morning with water from a well fed by an underground spring 800 feet below my house. I keep my basement office at a crispy 55 degrees, my bedroom at 60 degrees, and my home rarely ever above 65 degrees. I also visit my sauna 4 to 5 times per week to do yoga and will sit for 30 to 60 minutes until sweat is bleeding from my entire body and my mind and heart are humming with an intense heat. So why am I so adamant about going out of my way to experience extremes in temperature? Well, go listen at bengreenfieldfitness.com to the podcast episodes I've recorded with scientists like Ray Cronice and Rhonda Patrick, and they talk about how temperature stresses the body to churn out compounds like brain-derived neurotrophic factor to make you smarter, heat shock proteins to make you more resilient, nitric oxide, fat-burning adiponectin hormones, and a shutdown of inflammatory cytokines. Your body is ancestrally wired to not be in a constant comfort zone of air conditioning and heating, and so rule number 1 is to go out of your way every day to either make your body uncomfortably cold, uncomfortably hot, or preferably at some point during the day, both. Number 2 is to hunt and be hunted. Now, don't stop listening because you heard the word hunt and you don't have a gun or a bow and you aren't comfortable plucking a turkey or field dressing a deer or hunting in general. I'm not saying you have to don camouflage, hop in a pickup with a rifle rack, and go shoot all your own food, although that could come in handy as a valuable life skill. But instead, you can at least simulate the same ancestral feel of the hunt by including sporting and fitness events that allow you to spot, stalk, and capture prey. For example, one of my favorite workouts is getting a group of buddies together and playing a giant forest or field game of capture the flag, complete with crawling through the mud, sprinting, stalking, and attempting to outwit the competition. Another favorite is putting on camouflage and a protective face mask and heading out into the woods with my twin boys and an arsenal of paintball guns. It can also be an exhilarating feeling to not just be the one doing the hunting, but also to be hunted. For example, rather than hopping on the treadmill, grab a few friends and head to the park for a game of freeze tag. I actually played for an hour last week and it was my toughest sprint workout of the month. Or get on a bike, pretend a lion is chasing you and ride as hard as you can for a mile or until your lungs and legs are smoked. There are many ways to simulate hunting or being hunted, and you need to remember to tap into this primal strategy, at least once a week preferably. Number 3 is to build stuff. Some of us can take a hammer, a few wood screws, and an old pile of 2x4s and construct a beautiful birdhouse, a raised garden bed, or an elaborate carving. Others of us, less talented with handiwork, might attempt to create what appears to be a kindergarten craft project gone awry. But no matter what your skills are in building stuff, remember that our ancestors had to craft everything from weapons to shelters. And if you've ever spent the day tilling in a garden, building a rock wall, or working on a farm, you know that building stuff can be hard. But unless you work in construction or you're a farmer or a blacksmith, does anyone actually do that these days? Or a car mechanic, or you engage all day in some other laborious position, you're probably going to need to fabricate a few times during the week to simulate the process of building stuff. So, you want an example? Well, here's an idea from my own workout database. I have a pile of 30 heavy cinder blocks at the bottom of my quarter-mile driveway. One of my workouts is to transport those blocks as many times as I'd like to the top of my driveway and then back down. Now, that's not quite as productive as another of my go-to weekly winter workouts, which is chainsawing trees in my backyard forest, sectioning them, hatcheting the kindling off them, cleaning them up, hauling each piece back to my house, then splitting them with a wood maul into quarters for burning in the wood stove. But either way, it simulates the building process. And even if you're not a fan of craftsmanship, you don't have a forest to chop down trees in, and you feel no pressing urge to build a giant rock wall, you can easily include a few items such as hay bales or boulders in your backyard to flip around and carry, or your workout environment that forces you to simulate the act of building by dragging or pushing or pulling objects from point A to point B, or include swinging and chopping activities like getting a sledgehammer or a mace and hitting a giant tire. You get the idea. Number 4 is to be an ape. I've purposefully equipped my house and living environment full of things to hang from. For example, I ordered 2 giant 30-foot long pieces of rope online, along with 6 smaller 4-foot sections with knots on the end. One long rope is hung from a tree in my backyard for vertical climbing. Another long rope is tied from one tree to another for horizontal climbing. And there's also 6 smaller ropes hung Tarzan swing style along a beam on the side of the driveway. There's a pull-up bar in the door of my office, and another pull-up bar in the gym, along with a set of rings. My stairwell has beams on either side of it for climbing. Now, I'll also often simply stop during a run to hang from a tree and do some pull-ups, or to find a park bench that I can pull up against. And if I'm clambering up a rock wall on my hands and feet, crawling in a lumbering gorilla-style fashion across grassy patches, or box jumping onto park benches, I'm basically going out of my way to simulate something out of Planet of the Apes and ensuring that I keep my shoulder mobility tuned and my grip strong. I'm tapping into yet another primal ancestral form of moving. Gripping, hanging, swinging, and using forms of locomotion that go beyond simply walking, jogging, or running. Now, once you begin to view the world through the eyes of a chimpanzee, your perspective on fitness will change quite a bit, although your banana budget and Tarzan-style grunts may simultaneously increase. And if you want more ape-like tips, you should check out the Get Fit Guy episode on how to train like an American Ninja Warrior. I'll link to that over at quickanddirtytips.com. Now, as you can imagine, following the rules you just heard can be subtle or extreme. You may simply want to start by keeping your house a bit cooler, playing the occasional game of tag, lifting some heavy rocks, and doing more pull-ups. Or you might want to take things to the next level and start into a daily cold shower and weekly cold soak, purchase a hunting or a fishing license, and learn to field dress an animal or cook a fish, build an enormous rock wall in your backyard, or hang ropes from the trees in your front yard. You can choose your own journey, but you get the idea. Don't get stuck in the stale routine of a gym or a running trail. Now, by following these 4 rules, you'll be well on your way to moving like a warrior, feeling like a beast, and rising one step above what our modern world accepts what it means to be truly fit. Now, if you have questions, comments, or feedback about these 4 ways to be as fit as your primal ancestors, then join the conversation over at facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, I'm Ben Greenfield, the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.